Hi everyone, I'm going to read to you. We are starting a new section in our book, Miracles Do Happen. It is the Miracles, Dreams, and Visions section. These are true stories that people send in to Guidepost, and they made a book on it. Miracles Do Happen. So let me read you the beginning of, like, the introduction page, and then we will read our first story from it. It will be called The Vision That Was a Warning. Seeing is believing, the old adage says. God created some of us to be visually driven, like Thomas, who heard about the miracle of Jesus rising from the dead, but said, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hands, put my fingers into them, and place my hand into the wound on his side." You can find that in the book of John, chapter 20, verse 25. Others of us do not have to overcome unbelief as Thomas did, but learn our lessons most deeply when we see them unfold. Sometimes our sight, whether during our awakening, conscious hours, or during the slow, sleepy times when our heart may be more vulnerable for spiritual sensing, helps us believe. Believe me, it's true. And believe me, God and demons and Satan and everything is true. In the eyes of our minds, God moves to miraculously show us wonders we cannot embrace in any other way. Amen. That is so true. I speak from experience. So let's read our first story, The Vision That Was a Warning, by Heather Spiva. "Call 911, my husband shouted while wrestling with the intruder. "Call 911. I watched them struggle, the intruder trying to escape, my husband trying to restrain him. My feet were glued to the floor. I heard my heartbeat whooshing in my ears. "Move, Heather," I commanded myself. "Get to the phone." I finally dialed the police and described the scene. Someone broke into our house, was stealing our stuff, and now he and my husband were wrestling. During the phone call, the intruder wriggled free from my husband's grasp, jumped our fence, and ran frantically away. We didn't know if this robber had weapons, or if he was intoxicated or belligerent. We knew nothing except that our back door was open, items in the house were strewn about, and ultimately we came face to face with the assailant who tried to act as if nothing was happening. He even apologized. He wanted to get away with his crime, and that's when my husband's protective mode went into overdrive, and he wrestled him out of our house. After that day, I never felt quite safe. It was as if this evil intruder took away any secure thoughts I ever had. Through prayers and peaceful conversations, my husband and I had survived the ordeal, but we were changed. A million questions raced through my mind. What if he had a gun? What if he'd shot my husband or me? What if this happened again when my husband isn't home? What if this occurs again when I'm home alone? My husband, a firefighter, worked days away from home. If I was home alone with the kids, the safety of our home was up to me. "We will be fine," my husband said. "This is a random event." "But they can catch the intruder," I said. "He could return. He could bring others with him. He could bring a gun and finish the job. I mean, he ran away from you. He wasn't exactly the most triumphant robber. Pride could play a part here." My husband hugged me. "That's worst case scenario. It won't happen. God is watching over us, and we're going to be okay. He won't come back." I hugged him back, wanting to believe him with all my heart, but that panic had seeped in for good. In the years leading up to the event, I had felt the desire to leave our neighborhood. Its safe environment and family-filled homes had changed. Crime had risen. I didn't feel safe before the robbery, and now I felt even more vulnerable. I had mentioned this to my husband, but he didn't fully understand until the day of the robbery. Now he looked at all my worries, all my words, all my prayers with new eyes. The problem was the housing market. It was at an all-time low. So if we were going to move, we would have to be able to sell the house and break even and do it with wind coming. We would also have to find a home not only that we liked, but was available and safe. I had been eyeing a neighborhood for years and had asked about it too. With our 2 growing boys, we needed a larger home, like what the neighborhood offered. And if I were asking maybe a pool, perhaps this was the right time. We had savings for a down payment. That wasn't the issue. But in the neighborhood I liked, only 2 or maybe 3 homes were for sale. It would be nearly impossible to find what we wanted. But I had to come to terms with my faith. Would I trust in my myopic view or in God's love and powerful ways? I wanted to trust Him and please Him, and that was impossible to do without faith. I remember praying with all my heart one day. God knew the desires of my heart. He also knew my fears. He knew I felt unsafe in our home, but I also remember giving up my desire for the new home and saying, "Whatever your will, that will be the best one." As I sat on my bed praying with my hands, like a curtain opening, I saw myself looking through the front door of a home I'd never been in, and straight out to the back door, slider with a view of a beautiful blue pool, the lush backyard, the peaceful tall entryway I was standing in. The scene was palpable. I snapped out of my vision and chills ran over me. I thought I had just seen my future home. All I needed to do was find it. In a matter of months, we sold our home for more than we'd hoped. That was a miracle, number 1. Now we needed to find our home, the one from my vision. There were still only 3 to view in the neighborhood where I wanted to live. They had been on the market for a while, which meant they weren't very desirable for some reason. Perhaps I was asking for too much. And yet I kept coming back to the vision and my faith. Our realtor took us through the first home. It was small and outdated and didn't have a pool. The second one was also a big no. We came to the last one, and for a split second before we went in, I felt peace. The realtor put the key in the lock and opened the door, and I stood at the threshold watching it open in slow motion. I felt as if I were experiencing my vision all over again. Straight through the entryway, through the family room, and out the back door slider, I saw it. It was the home with the pool. This was the same view I'd seen in my vision. I looked at my husband and said, "This is the one." Miracle number 2. The robbery was a dark season, but God helped us through it and taught us things we'd never have learned if we hadn't stayed in the home. The incident propelled us to move. It also forced us to move spiritually into an area of faith-filled action. It was all about faith. Amen. And I truly believe she had that vision. I truly 100% believe with all my heart that God gave it to her. God will do what He thinks is best for us. He will help us like that. We're His children and He loves us and He wants to protect us and keep us safe. Sometimes Satan just gets there first or takes over for some reason. He's a bad, evil person. Just remember, all good things come from God. Evil, bad things come from Satan. Good night, guys. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas.